welcome to Pecan Ranch. I'm doing this little video as an introduction, and we like to tell you all a little bit about ourselves, a little bit about our farm, what we do around here, what we raise, and the products that we produce. A little bit of backstory about this place. We bought it about 4 months ago. It was a foreclosure, and the property had been unoccupied for 4.5 years. So all of this that you see out here was all briars and chest-high overgrowth. The pastures weren't taken care of, and it was basically a mess. We didn't have any infrastructure as far as fencing and animal housing goes, and so we bought it, and with limited time we had to get to work. We've got 10 acres out here and we've been farming for several years. So my name is Matt Hernandez, and I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years, and when we were in Virginia we had a little bit of land, and that's when we kind of started farming. When we moved back to Oklahoma, we didn't have the means to, and it just wasn't convenient to purchase land, and where we needed to live was closer to the city to start my business, and that's what we did. And so we were in the city for about 4.5, 5 years. From there, we found this place, 10 acres out here, and we moved. And we already had a chicken operation and a rabbit operation, but a little bit smaller scale because we were in the city. And then we moved out here. We had to get the animals moved out here. We had to get the land prepped. It was a whole lot of work. And there'll be more about that, I'm sure, later on. So me and my wife and our 4 kids moved out here, and we had a lot of work cut out for us. I'm sure I've got some footage of the before of this place and how much of a wreck it was. And now what we do is we raise chickens for our eggs, ducks for meat for personally. We haven't really considered an enterprise of selling those yet. And then rabbits for personal meat, as well as selling them as breeding stock. And then we've got our pigs. Hey piggies, hey, how are you? We have our pasture raised pigs. And these fellas, yeah, how's my piggies? How are my piggies? Oh yeah, we'll go in there and see them here in a minute. It's feeding time, and they just noticed that I was outside. So we raise those for pork, and we also have a couple head of cattle. So we're just gonna kind of get right into it, and just do kind of an introduction to the stars of the show, the animals, and we'll get the daily feeding going. And the point of this channel mostly is there's a couple things. Really, transparency. We want the people to know the quality of product that they're getting, and how we get that, and how our animals are treated out here. That's something that we want to be shown. We also offer farm services, and so our farm services company does anything from barbed wire, fence install, removal, brush hogging, things of that nature. And so because I've got the farm services company, we'll also hopefully, given the opportunities, be able to set up a few how-to videos on a few things like putting in fences, just your typical things. There's always something to do on the farm, and so we'd like to take you guys on this journey with us. Today I've got my youngest son helping me out. The rest of the kids are in town with my wife. They've got doctor's appointments and stuff to go to. So today we're going to kind of take you through just kind of the daily routine and take you guys along with the journey. So here we go. So this is where my day typically begins, out here in our carport behind our shop is where I store straw, or store all of our straw, basically our dry storage area for square bale straw, square hay bales, which we're kind of getting away from. We'll be doing round bales for our cattle here shortly, and then all of our feed. So a quick little tip whenever it comes to storing feed. So our feed would stay dry out here, but these trash cans right here, they'll hold 2 50-pound bags pretty comfortably and a little bit more, and you can even dump them out in there. I keep them in the bags in most of our feed situations, and that's because you keep them in these bags and it keeps rodents out of them, keeps rodents from getting into them, and also we do get some condensation in here and some dripping off of the top of the carport, and it does keep them a little extra dry. So these are a good inexpensive means of, you know, some dry storage, and kind of rodent protection is one of the main reasons. So I start my day off because in here, because I'm going to feed the large livestock. So my oldest son, he typically handles the watering and all that stuff of the rabbits, which they'll be getting an automatic watering system here soon. That will be a video soon to come. I'll show you that as soon as I build it. And so he handles kind of the poultry and the rabbits, and I do the pigs and the cows. So what I do is I've got it portioned out into buckets here, and every morning the pigs, so right now the pigs actually have plenty of feed, but I still give them basically a treat every day. So all of the animals are going to get some sweet feed, some all-stock sweet feed. Now, I do not recommend sweet feed necessarily for most animals as a primary feed, and that's just because it doesn't always cover all of the nutritional needs, but it's not a primary feed source for us. This is for basically a treat. It tastes good, the animals like it, and you'll see a ton of benefits if your animals respond well to you and like you in multiple things. Besides the intrinsic value of your animals having a happy life, not fearing you, and really enjoying your presence, but also when you do need to handle your animals, loading them on a trailer, or doing things like tagging, things of that nature will help you out a whole lot if your animals like you. Because if your animals are afraid of you and they run from you, or you have to wrangle them up, it just makes for a miserable life. So for you and your animals. So everybody, all my pig groups, I've got 2 pig groups. I've got one group that is about 11 weeks old, almost 12 weeks old, and then I've got another group that is 3 weeks younger than them, so they're about 8 weeks old. And so because they are smaller, they've been separated because the big pigs are picking on them. So I've got sweet feed for my 2 pig groups, and then cattle cubes for my mama cow and her calf. And she also gets hay, so not necessarily wanting to give her a ton of feed, but we just got her not all that long ago, and so also part of this daily feeding routine is so that she associates me with a treat, and she has started to warm up to me, and you folks will get to see that. And all right, those go in the back of the mule. You want to put them in the back of the mule? All right. Get her a little bit of hay. She's gonna be getting round bales here soon. All right, time to, probably should have started the mule earlier. Got it warmed up, huh? Quick thing about this mule I'd like to point out. Now, these things are invaluable tools on a farm. I mean, absolutely invaluable. I got a steal of a deal on this thing, so it was a good price. Hang on a second. Got a little. There we go. So I got a steal of a deal on this thing. I paid $1,500 for this, and for any of you folks who have been paying attention or looking around for a side-by-side, that is near impossible to find in good condition, working order, side-by-side for $1,500. You're typically going to spend on average around $5 grand for a used one. Now, after having one of these things and using it extensively, both for the farm and for the farm services company, I would easily, gladly pay $5 grand for one. And eventually this thing's gonna need replaced. It's not gonna last forever. Now, I'm a mechanic. In fact, I have a mechanic business. And so I can maintain this thing for a good long while. However, it's eventually gonna need replaced, and I would happily spend $5,000 on one. In fact, I would even consider buying one new, and it'd be worth the $10,000 plus that you spend on them. I cannot stress enough how important these things are to a farm. You can get by without one, but the usefulness of these things is just something else. And maybe one of these days I'll go into an in-depth description of kind of how I've got my mule rigged out and set up. But just as a quick note, I got one of these rifle bags that I mount to the back of it, and it actually rarely holds rifles. It primarily holds tools and stuff. I keep, you know, a little 1/4-inch impact in there. I'll keep fencing pliers and a mini sledge in here. I keep T-post clip tools, things of that nature. I've got my fence stretcher and a machete on this side, and it's a really useful little addition to it. And then I built this out of some scrap wood. I had some scrap wood laying around, and I was tired of not having a place to keep random hardware and tools that wasn't in the bed of the mule, taking up space. So I built this little thing and stuck it on the side. You can buy side toolboxes for these things. Also, fun fact, on a mule's truck bed, this little spot right here is a super handy place to keep some fencing pliers. And man, I could do a whole video on fencing pliers and how useful the tools these are, but this one in particular has a little hammerhead on it, and it's just a very multi-purpose tool that you can use for just about anything. So my recommendation honestly is, if you have the opportunity and you have the means, I'd say get one. You absolutely need one for a farm. It just makes moving bulk items like feed and hay and all that stuff around a large area a whole lot easier. And you know, just to get to the back of the property is, you know, it's not a long walk, but it's a 5-minute walk. That's not that big of a deal if you're just going back there just to go back there. But typically, if you're having to go back to the back of the property, you've got to take something with you. You've got to carry something with you. So having that mule is just an invaluable tool. And I'd recommend one any day of the week, honestly. Also we've got a little bit of storage up front in here. This opens up, and I keep a few things in there like a chain, cargo strap, things of that nature. Things just super handy to have. So anyhow, we've got this thing warmed up, and we've got our little feed rations out here, and we're going to head out and go meet all the animals. Piggies, how are you? How are you this morning? Good morning, piggies. So half the time I don't even have to call them in anymore. They have gotten really used to the sound of the mule, and they see me. They like me. They love to be pet. And oh, this one, she's my sweetest right here. Oh, you're my sweetest. Oh, hey piggies. Hey piggies. They are. Oh, how are you? You need to pet. Right now, they're a little bit more manageable size. They're about 50, 60 pounds. I don't know how much more I can take once they get to about 200 pounds of them climbing on me. But hey, you can't go for a ride. You know better. What are you doing? All right, let's give these rambunctious things their feed. That's what they want. They want their treat. And I'll show you guys their feed bucket. They've got feed in there. Yeah, pig. Come on, piggies. So these pigs are pasture raised, and they have a pen, and this is basically their kind of home base, where their water is, their feed is, and some of their toys. Oh, is it playtime? They get a little rambunctious in the morning. Look at this. They have plenty of food in here. There's no shortage of food. All right, piggies. Hey, all right. Yeah, get them. Come on. Get this way. Come on. All right, now I can get in here. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. They love that. They like that sweet feed. It really is just a treat to them. So this is their pen. This is where they stay. They stay at night. I've built this shelter, and this is a really inexpensive shelter to build. Basically what it is you have, I've got rebar stakes that I've staked in the ground, and then we have these little PVC pipes here that make up the frame and just join together, and then they're bent in, stuck into the stakes. And the pallets, those are basically just to keep the pigs off of the stakes and stuff. Kind of provides a little bit of structure, and it also provided me a place to screw in some 2x4s to fasten the tarp in place. This tarp is going to need replaced over the years, but it's inexpensive. It's an easy covering to change. And then I've got it, this tarp kind of strung taut, so that way water doesn't pull on it and things of that nature. I've got this handy dandy pecan tree right here that I could tie to, and it provides a good windbreak. They've got plenty of straw in there to stay stay warm in the wintertime. Pigs don't have a lot of it. I mean, they've got fat, but when they're smaller, they don't have any hair. Most breeds don't. These in particular don't. And also in the summertime, they need a place for shade. Now, if you have plenty of shade trees in the summertime, you don't necessarily need a shelter, but I would recommend, if you have just a big open pasture, build a shelter so that way they have shade, because pigs, especially the whiter breeds like these guys, they got the pink skin or whiter skin, they can sunburn, so they need a good shade spot. And this one's protected on both sides. You can also build 3-sided shelters. There's many types of shelters to build. This one I built this way because I wanted it to be large and also modular, because in the future, if I needed to move this, it's not that big of a deal to take down and put somewhere else. Now, our pig pen is close to the house, and some people say, oh, don't you worry about the smell. Not really. I've got a good bedding of straw, and they also don't spend a ton of time in here. They will. This is our training pen for electric fence. When we first get pigs in, it's got good physical fencing all the way around, and then I have a hot wire. And this hot wire runs all the way around the pen, so that way when they first get to the farm, if they're not trained on hot wire, which they aren't likely, depending upon where you get them from. I don't breed pigs. I just buy them as piglets. I've done the numbers, and from my operation at the scale that I'm doing it, it makes more sense, and I can break that down later in a future date and explain why I don't breed pigs. But let's just say for now I've done the numbers and it makes sense. So in here is our training pen. When they first get here, this gate will be closed, and they'll stay in here and they'll learn that this is home, this is where their shelter is, and they'll also learn the electric fence. Now, this fence is not to punish them, it's not to be mean to them, and it shocks. I mean, I'll touch it and it's not that bad, it's more startling than anything. And so you want a good hot wire, and you want it really at about nose height. I've got 2 wires ran in the pasture. This one's just a single wire, so that way they see the wire, they know that thing is not fun. And you want to have physical fencing because you don't want them to get shocked, get scared, and run through it. You want them to associate that shock with, I need to back up or turn around, and that's what they do now. So they'll stay in here for about a week, and so this place doesn't really get mucked up too bad. If we got rain, it gets a little bit worse, but I've got straw spread out, and that's a little bit of a expense if you consider it, but it saves Saves our noses, saves our neighbors' noses, and no one complains about the stench around here. Now, once they are trained on that for about a week, and really it only takes them a couple days to understand that fence. Out here in the pasture, this is our front pasture. It's about an acre, acre and a half or so. And on our front pasture, our physical fencing isn't that great, honestly. But the electric fence is what keeps the pigs in. And what we've got, like this barbed wire, they could go through it or they could get hurt by it. And honestly, I wouldn't want that either. So we've just run these 2 hot wires. And it varies whether or not I've got insulators on T-post clips or whether or not I've got step-in stakes, depending upon the area. But that hot wire alone is all it takes to keep them in once they're trained on it. You can't just set them loose on hot wire and expect them to stay in. You got to train them on it. So you need a pen, a training pen with good physical fencing. They need to be in there for a minimum of 3 days, but I would suggest a week. Some pigs are different. Some pigs learn quicker. Some are a little bit slower. So once they do that, they get to free range out here in this pasture. Right now it's winter time, so we don't have a ton of grass growth, but we have a ton of pecans. Most of my trees are pecan trees, and the ones that aren't are oak trees. So we have pecans and acorns, lots of them for lots of food for them to munch on, even in the winter time. And so after this pasture is all churned up, we'll move them on to the back pasture. It's about another 6 acres or so, and we'll be rotating them around in 1.5 acre paddocks, and there'll be 5 of them that we rotate them around, and it allows time for the pasture to rest and to recover. These pigs will do a good job of tilling up the soil and disturbing that soil and fertilizing and really promote good healthy pasture. But it works best on a rotational grazing system, so you can allow the pasture to rest, recover, come back stronger. And this pasture was in abysmal shape whenever I got here. Primarily weeds, brambles, and briars, and all the nasty, yucky stuff that you wouldn't want. And so we're really trying to recoup this pasture, make it some good, solid grazing land. The type of work that needs to be done to this land really needs a more capable piece of machinery, and this piece of machinery for me is my pigs. And they're real good. Those little noses are like shovels. Look at them wagging their tails. They're having a grand old time. See, they barely ate on their feet. Hey girl, what's up girl? What's up? How are you? See, when we first got them, they weren't like this. They didn't want to come up to you and get pet. They were skittish and stuff. It takes some time for them to get to trust you. Pigs are extremely smart. But it honestly took about 4 or 5 days or so, and then they kind of acted a whole lot more like dogs. My male pigs, these little guys here, like Wilbur here, he's just starting to get to trust me. They're a little bit, for some reason, not as trusting as these females that love to be pet, love their belly scratched. Don't you, girl? You like that belly scratching? Oh, don't be jealous. Do you want scratches too? Oh yeah. So, and that was the main purpose of bringing them sweet feed every single day. I could just put a whole bunch of feed in there, let them eat on that feed all they wanted, and have full access to it. But this way, bringing them feed every day, they get to see me every day, and I've gained their trust. So now I can herd them wherever I want to. I can handle them if I need to handle them. If one of them's hurt and I need to apply some ointment, some antibiotic or antiseptic, then I can do that without having to chase them down and wrangle them or anything. People may ask, like, why you got an animal that you're raising to butcher for food? Why are you treating it why are you treating it so nice, like it's almost like a pet? It's because I want them to have a good life. And it also honestly, even if you take the whole compassion factor out of it, it has additional value to the farmer. Because these animals trust me, I can handle them. It's a whole lot easier to manage them when they trust me and they like me. Right now, you could probably manhandle these things, but I'll tell you what, 50-60 pounds of scared, rambunctious pig is not easy to manage. They're very strong animals. So, but once they get up to larger sizes, like 200, 300 pounds, that's whenever you really need them. You need their trust. Not only that, but it's a stress-free life, and I think it really honestly creates a better quality product in the end. The meat tastes better. So let's move on to our next animal group. I've got little piggies in there whining because they saw me and they want me to come give them some sweet feed. How you doing, little piggies? Oh, little pigs. Oh, little pigs. Okay, let me through. Little pig, let me in. Let me in. Back up. Back up. Goodness gracious, little piggies. Little piggies. All right, all right. I got you your sweet feed. Right here. Right here. So these little guys are in with the chickens right now because they're a few weeks younger than the other ones, and the other ones kind of bullied them around a little bit, and it's cold at night and they weren't letting them sleep in the shelter, and so I wanted them to have a place of their own. And we have this, you know, we've got our roost set up for our chickens, but we have kind of a backup roost, and the pigs, stop it, that's my bucket. It's my bucket. The pigs can use it. We've got straw in there. They can stay warm, stay out of the wind, and cuddle up. Not only that, but they were a little small to reach into my watering system, or my water trough. We put them in here with the chickens until they get a little bit bigger and can kind of fend for themselves. They'll probably only stay here for another week. But these guys are kind of, since they're younger, they're kind of more like puppies. So they're very hyper and they like to play. They can be rough a little bit too. So that's one of those things that you gotta watch out for. Keep an eye on your fingers because they might nibble on you a little bit. See, this guy over here. This is Oreo, the girl, actually. And yeah, I know, I'm not really supposed to name them, but that's okay, we can name them. They've got their little toys that they play with, kind of keeps them busy a little bit. So in here, I don't usually, or didn't usually have a hot wire because this is the chicken coop, or the chicken run. And so I added that in here so that way these guys can get trained on the electric fence, so that by the time they get big enough to integrate with the rest of the pig herd, they will already be trained on it, and I don't have to go through the training process with them and figure that out and how I would put them in the training pen and keep these guys out. So I decided I'd put electric fence up and get them trained on it. And these are my chickens. We've had these girls for quite some time. Some of them, one or two of them I think are probably over 6 years old. This is my rooster. He's a relatively new addition to the farm. He's a big fluffy guy, and he's a big chicken. And I don't say that like to be punny. I say that because he is afraid of everything. He's about half worthless rooster as far as protecting the chickens go. What's up, little Kevin? This guy's name is Kevin. Kevin P. Bacon. I know it's not a very original name for a pig, but that's the name we went with. And here are my ducks. These are my breeding ducks. We will be hatching out some in the spring. I have 2 drakes and 3 ducks. For the uninitiated, that's 2 males, 3 females. Quick tip, I don't know if I can get close enough to see, but the drakes have a curl on their tail. A curl on their tail feather. These guys, I don't know what their deal is, but they're not big fans of us. We've been nothing but nice to them. I don't know how I can get them to like me. I don't understand. Another quick tip, not all breeds have that curl on that tail feather, but it's about a surefire way of knowing if a duck is a drake or a duck, a female, is the females quack. The drakes do not. They don't quack. I've never met a drake that quacks. They all make more of a growling noise, and the actual like stereotypical quack noise that you'll hear from a duck is almost always from females. So listen to the way that they talk. The males just kind of growl, kind of do a little grumble, and then the females have a higher pitch, more of a quack type noise that they make. Anyhow, just a little thing about ducks here. This is our chicken run. We've actually got some more chickens that'll be coming in whenever I get the chance to go get some more. We need to add to them. I've got a nest box, and again, there are a lot of things I'm going to go over just kind of quickly as an introduction to the farm. I'll go into more detail. We've got this nest box here. I'll show you the design of it. We can access the eggs from the outside. I actually need to make a few minor improvements to it to really improve it, but the infrastructure is in place. Like I said, there's always something that needs to be done on the farm. No matter how far ahead, caught up you think you may be, you can always come up with something that you need that needs to be done. Wait, where are you going? We got to talk about the rabbits. All right, so now we've got our rabbit run, our rabbit colony. It's kind of in progress. I haven't completely finished it up yet, but this is kind of their cover for gives them shade. Now we have a lot of natural shade out here in the summertime from the pecan trees, but this also gives them a dry place, keeps them out of the rain. They have these little bunny burrows that I built, but we're probably going to have to redesign something as far as nest boxes go, and that's why we actually have a old style nest box in here, because we had a lot of rain recently, and we got little baby bunnies in here, don't we?
This is Spot's baby,
yep,
right?
these are Spot's babies. Oh, they're sweet little babies. You're a good mama, Spot. You're a good mama. Spot's probably, she's our youngest mama rabbit, but she is probably our sweetest, but also our most rambunctious. So these bunny buckets that I've built, they would work good in an area that probably has better water absorption in your soil. We've got a real clay type water here, and it is hard to keep them from flooding. I have done my due diligence. I've set them with you know, a good amount of drainage rock underneath. They're up, you know, on a hill where runoff should go. They're covered, so water shouldn't be able to go in through the tunnels. But if we get a good amount of rain, they just flood. And it's not just me. I'm not the only failure here. The rabbits, whenever they make their own little burrows and tunnels, they flood too. So even the experts aren't good at it around here. It's this soil type. So we're probably going to do a raised off the ground setup for nest boxes for the rabbits. And I keep them in a colony setup. We have all of our female mamas, all of our does, and then we have our buck over here, this gray one right here. His name is Tipsy. I didn't name him, so don't make fun of me for it. And then this is Guy. He's got to be kept separate because he doesn't get along with Tipsy. And he was supposed to be on the dinner table, but some people in our family got attached to him and wanted to keep him as a backup buck. So we're gonna have to do something with him because I don't want to keep him in that small cage for much longer. But we are going to divide this up, and that side is going to be a grow out pen. This side is going to be for our breeding rabbits. And so maybe he'll end up over on the grow out pen because none of the grow out rabbits will be of the age where he could breed them, and he's good with babies, and so they'll be butchered long before we have to worry about him you know, breeding them. And so he might be staying over there until, you know, we need to rotate him into the roster if Tipsy gets too old or doesn't perform the way he does. This is our old grow out rabbit tractor, and we have some rabbits in here that are slotted to be dispatched. Whenever we have some more time, we're going to go through and take care of them. We are also selling those rabbits if anyone wants any. If we get any requests, we will sell breeding rabbits if need be. Typically they're a little bit under the age of maturity whenever we sell them, and that's just because if we keep any breeding age rabbits, it's for our own personal breeding stock. and we don't keep them long past that. So our rabbits are a cross of several meat breeds. We've kind of bred them that way, and we're kind of still discovering the best qualities that we like, but we've kind of settled on it with Spot as our favorite mama rabbit, and we're going to start trying to see what we can do to replicate her as the years go on. But this rabbit tractor is going to get dispatched as soon as the rabbits are dispatched, and then we'll have a divide here so that way our grow out pen has plenty of room to run, and in the springtime have plenty of grass to graze on, and have just better, happier lives. It's not a small area by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not as large as I'd like them to have room to be in. But these guys are about to be, this was just what we had available for use in our suburban area, and a 1/4 acre lot. We could pick it up and move it to new grass, and that's just what we had before, and now we've got the space for them to actually continually graze. So that's the rabbits. I know these introductions are taking an awful long time, and you guys will all get to meet them more, meet more of the animals, get to know them as these videos go on. Hey, that's not your bucket. Excuse you. Hey. So this particular pasture is where the cow and her calf are staying, and this is actually not my pasture. This is my neighbor's pasture, but they don't have anything grazing it. They didn't have anything grazing it, and they just have been having to brush hog it a couple times a year, and so they wanted something out here to graze, and we have the space to graze these cows at the back pastures, and we can graze them with the pigs, but they needed something here basically to mow their grass. Now these two head of cattle are not going to keep up with this in the spring, summertime, but we will be introducing more cattle to the herd in the not so distant future. Oh, it's windy, and that'll help cut down on how often this thing has to get mowed. And I'll be, and if we need to rotate them off to rest this pasture, we can put them in one of my pastures and rotate them with the pigs. But for now, they're not really an enterprise for making money. They're mostly for personal beef consumption. And so we've got them out here. We have a longhorn cow and a bull calf, and she is actually also bred back, so she's due to calve July or August. So we'll have another one here shortly, and by about that time we should have a bull to breed her with, so that way we have kind of a continual cycle of cattle coming through off of her, and we're going to add another cow or two in the not so distant future. But she was waiting patiently for me, and but I got to jibber jabbering too much, and I guess she decided to take off. So I'm gonna go round her up and bring her back this way to where we feed her, and that way you all can see her. Hey, big mama. Hey, girl. I'm actually bringing you food this time. I won't talk, I promise. I won't make you wait any longer. You want to come get some food? Come on, girl. Come on. Here, Cap. Come on. Come on. Girl. Come on. We got to go to our spot. Come on, girl. Yeah. Hey, girl. Yeah, this is your spot. You know it. You know it. Would you like some hay? I've got a little bit of hay for you. We'll bring some round bales out later. You'll have tons of hay. Here, girl. Come here. You want some? All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're just gonna eat and run. You're just gonna eat and run, huh? Come on. Say hi to everybody. Hey, Charlie. Gracing us with your appearance. Hey, girl. All right, you want some feed cubes? I got you some. Eli, back up. She's still not sure about you. There you go. There you go. So every day, Eli, stay over here. So every day I've been feeding her and making it a point to pet her whenever she gets fed, so that way she is used to my presence and used to my touch. That way she's not startled by it, and she's getting comfortable with us a little bit. Charlie is another story. Our bull calf, he is not as comfortable, and she's getting more comfortable, but she's not quite 100% trusting me yet. Still takes feed to get her to come to me. One of these days she'll let me touch her without having a face full of feed, I'm sure. But we want her to trust us in case we need to, you know, interact with her or whatever. And she's a real gentle cow. She's got these horns on her, but she's very aware of where they are. And if she bumps her horn into me, she'll move it out of the way. She doesn't hurt me. She's a real gentle cow. She's just a little bit skittish. But she was transported here, and a lot of times when cattle are put on trailers, it takes them a little while to kind of get over that, you know, a week or so. And she's only been over here for about 4 or 5. Oh man, he is playing over there. Oh, he's off in the distance. We can't hardly see him. He's just running around having a blast. There Charlie goes. Oh, here he comes. Come on, Charlie. Woo, Charlie. He's playing with the pigs. He sees the pigs. I bet if they got together, they'd have a blast. He's also very well aware of that hot wire. Knows that he can't go past it. So we have physical fencing here. It's not phenomenal. So we've got it backed up with a hot wire. And so by the way, all this hot wire that I always use poly rope. I was using this galvanized wire stuff, the old traditional electric wire. It's garbage. This poly rope is 1,000 times easier to work with. It's roughly the same cost. I mean, it costs a little bit more, but not so much so that it's cost prohibitive entirely. So we got a whole bunch of fiberglass stakes that we put in. I found that to be easier than dealing with T-post clip insulators. And also I can adjust this wire height pretty easily with these screw type insulators. And we have them set basically, so she's a shorter cow. She's shorter than normal for her breed, which is actually why I wanted her, because I like Dexter, you know, cattle, Highland cattle, the shorter height. They tend to not test fences as much. Oh, here comes Charlie. Oh, he sees Eli. He likes Eli. Eli, I think he likes you because you're smaller. Maybe he thinks you're a pig. He's not as intimidated by Eli as he is by me. Anyways, so I've got this set. You kind of want to set it about brisket height, you know, so that way it also happens to be kind of at nose level when they're walking at it. If they put their nose out, it gets their nose, because that's their more sensitive area. And that's kind of a good general rule of thumb for most animals when you're setting a hot wire. If they get it on their nose, they learn. She's been trained on electric by the previous ranch she was on, so she immediately already knew. Same with Charlie. So I don't think they've even yet been shocked by this fence since they came out here. They saw it and immediately keep away from it. They respect it. And so honestly, I probably don't even need it charged. Just the sight of it is enough to keep them from trying to go over the fence or go through the fence. But we're gonna get a few more cattle. We'll probably breed her with a Dexter bull, so that we end up with shorter cattle. For me, they're easier to manage, and they're easier amount of beef to manage as well at a time versus, you know, basically it's about, you know, 200-300 pounds less that you're getting out of a shorter cattle than you are your larger breeds. So so she's doing good. She is a little skinny, and so trying to get her kind of bulked up a little bit, so I've been giving her a little bit more feed. I'm trying not to give her too much extra. It's kind of a fine line because I want her to gain some weight, but she's also pregnant, and she was bred with a British white bull, which is a larger bull, and so I don't want that calf that she is gestating right now to be too large and cause complications with birth. So you've met, you know, the animals. There's Charlie again. He is just rambunctious today, just running around. He sees Eli and he wants to play with him, but he's not sure. He's not sure if he wants to or not. He is a funny little bull calf. So that's the introduction to our animals and our farm. You'll see the back pasture at some point. I'm still getting things ready for our paddock rotation, our rotational grazing. That'll come soon. I've got some gates in place, and I have our pathway lined with electric poly wire or poly rope. So we have the corridor ready, but then we're waiting on some more fiberglass stakes to come in, get some insulators, and we've got all the wire and everything. And I'll show you how our portable temporary fencing rotational paddock is going to work out back there in the not so distant future. I know there's a lot in this video, but I really wanted to get all of you introduced to our farm and our animals, basically our family. You'll learn a whole lot more about us in the future as to kind of our philosophies on animal husbandry and, you know, farming and raising livestock in general. But if I were to give anyone any advice, and what I hope you could glean from this at least, this is just my morning routine, and there's more to be done later on today. We've got projects that have to be done that'll probably be on another video. My advice is, if you're considering farming, it's kind of twofold. One, don't be intimidated by it, but two, understand and know the type of commitment, time and money that you're gonna have to put into it. The level of farming that we've got going on, and it's not even a huge scale, just with 11 pigs, 20 birds, or actually I think we have like 15 birds, and like 20 something rabbits, 30 something rabbits. It is more than like a part-time thing. People talk about, oh, you know, I want to get into, you know, I'll get a couple head of cattle or some pigs and stuff like that, and I'm going to do part-time farming. There really is no such thing as part-time farming, and yes, some sizes and some scales are going to be more manageable time-wise. It's not going to take up all of your time, but the thing about it with animals is they don't follow a schedule all the time, the way it works. When the animals need you, they need you. So the thing is, you got to find yourself in a position where either yourself or your significant other can be basically on call at any time for the animals anytime you need them. You never know if you get, you know, a windstorm and, you know, some trees fall down, take out your fence, take out your electric fence or something like that. And yeah, you know, you might say, well, that electric fence isn't, you know, it's keeping animals in, but in some cases, like for my chickens and stuff, it's keeping predators out. So when that electric fence is down, they're vulnerable. And so they need you. You got to go out. You know, if it's windy and it's the middle of the night and it's raining and your fence goes down, or you know, you hear predators coming into your property, you got to get out there. You got to be able to take care of them. If a cow is calving and is stuck in the canal, it's graphic, but you're gonna have to go shoulders deep in there and pull yourself a calf out. There's a ton of stuff. It seems intimidating, but it can be done, and you can kind of dip your toes into it and get started in a smaller scale. And you know, I can go over that in other videos and explain the exact details of how you get started and what type of animals, to how we're raising them, and the easiest way to get introduced into it. Chickens just are by far the easiest animal to start out with. most of the time, most cities will allow you to keep them even in your backyard. You can start out pretty small scale. You can raise them just for the eggs. You don't, even if you're like, I don't want to get into the butchering aspect of animals, not, you know, you keep them around as pets basically that give you breakfast. And so they're easy to take care of. They're not very cost prohibitive. They're relatively inexpensive, and they, for by and large, mostly take care of themselves. I've been keeping chickens for going on a decade now, and they have been by far the easiest animal to keep. The only real major difficulty ever is predation, and to be honest with you, in urban areas like cities and suburbs, very low predation. Because you do have some predators like possums and raccoons and things of that nature. However, those particular predators don't tend to prey on chickens in cities. Your possums and stuff, I had possums in the city. They're more interested in trash. Again, there's a lot of details I can go over, and I hope that you guys like this video. I hope that it's been informative, and there will be more informative videos to come, and we will be talking about a ton of things, strategies for raising animals, the systems to put in place, what you can work with small scale farming in smaller areas like urban settings and suburbs and quarter-acre lots, what can be done in a smaller scale, what needs to be done, and what if you do have larger land access, what you can do, and what practices you can put in place to best take care of your animals, raise a good quality, healthy product, and in general have lead a good lifestyle and a sustainable manner that's both good for the environment and good for the animals that you're raising. So until next time, we hope that you have had a great time joining us here at Pecan Ranch, and we invite you to join us again. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos, and if you like this video, like it. Comment below on what you'd like to see, what topics you'd like me to cover, and I will do my best to cover that to the best of my ability. So until next time, we'll see you all back at the ranch.